Yeah. So we're in the Conscious Wealth Studios with the executive and the executive and the mystic, which is who?
It's the mystical executive and the executive mystic.
Exactly.
Say that again.
It's the mystical executive and the executive mystic.
All right. I love that. I have not heard that from the two of you. I love the name of your business. And I want to talk about how the two of you have been the executive and mystic to one another and like your relationship and how that's evolved. Because and I'll just preface it by saying what we're doing with Conscious Wealth Living is helping people learn about ways that they can scale their business. And your approach is unique and it's complete. It's integrated. So I'd like to hear ways how your relationship, how the two of you came to this idea.
It's your fault.
It's my It is true I introduced you. Yes.
Why are you asking the obvious rhetorical question?
Yeah, but you have been the mystic to each other and the executive to each other, Noah?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I've had the pleasure of working with Kristina now for a few years as a result of an introduction by you. And in that work, even though I was working with her for more personal reasons, in my career, what I do is I work with CEOs and founders and private equity people running companies and help them through a lot of challenges that they have professionally as well as within their culture. So there's a challenge being a leader, and there's also the culture they're trying to implement, hopefully consciously. Sometimes they do it unconsciously, but
Sure.
it is conscious, so we'll say on purpose with intention.
Yes.
And along the way, conversations that I had with Kristina evolved to the point where I would talk to her more about the things I was doing in my business and practice. She'll explain, worked in companies, understands that, her version of Dilbert, to say, I get it, I see what goes on there.
Yeah.
It just seemed like an obvious thing. So, some of the conversations we were having, I said, this would be good stuff for someone else to hear.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about some pretty cool stuff, So if a CEO realizes that their personality traits, good and bad, become a thumbprint on the culture, and they wanted to improve the culture, therefore improve themselves, or vice versa, it's a win-win for everybody. What's your?
Yeah, so I would say that for me, the mystical comes naturally, as naturally as it can be. It's always been my special interest. It's always been something that I've loved. And Fred, actually both of you have had quite an influence on this, but knowing that the business aspect of this, that there was a lot of opportunities that were being missed in terms of integrating these two together. And when Fred and I came to a partner relationship, we were like, hey, we can actually come into coherence about this. And maybe it's interesting for some people, maybe that they're going to find something beneficial that we can apply what Fred was saying, which is this idea that how you are as a person, how you show up as a person, it's going to be so impactful on how you show up in the company. You can't compartmentalize as much as you would like. And in the same vein, we couldn't compartmentalize our relationship anymore to just simply be conversations between the two of us. We wanted to expand out and be able to say, hey, can we bring this perspective to people and actually make it really practical and grounded? And that's what I really enjoy about the play on the executive and the mystic, because everyone thinks of the executive as very, it's grounded and it's non-emotional, and it's just thinking and things like that. And yet we all know that executives are people and they need to be people, increasingly so.
Yes.
And the mystical brings in that understanding of patterns that are happening at multiple different levels. That's the way I see it, is that mystic quality says, you think that this is what's happening, but actually we can see that there's these multiple layers of reality that are happening that are actually going to inform what you think is a simple decision. And how can we actually be better informed for what that looks like?
And so everyone knows what the executive is. You just gave a rounder version of that. And then the mystic is who we bring to the company. Is the mystic, the mystical side is the realization of these patterns that we bring and how these patterns put in, as Fred said, an imprint on them, on this company? Or what is the mystic? How should somebody think about that? Because I don't think it's
not apparent.
It's not apparent. Executive, everybody knows, or at least they think they know. And you're rounding it out, but what is the mystic?
I think you just said it. You're rounding out. I think the mystic is a very holistic approach to how you approach anything. You recognize that there's a physical, there's a mental, there's an emotional, there are all sorts of, spiritual factors. There's so many invisible factors that are coming into something, and the mystic takes into account all of it.
Sorry, I start to smile, first of all, because I'm so happy that we're all in the studio together. And then two, I like get these mischievous ideas of like the quote by Pierre de Chardin, which says we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's that two sides of the same coin.
So we're executives having a mystical experience.
Well, the reason I like mystical is that it does encompass a sort of a perspective from, forget 30,000 feet, even wider than that, universal, to understand that there's these patterns and archetypes that Jung talked about that occur. And when people experience certain things, and what Kristina's gift is to be able to say, oh, you're looking at it from this way, try this way. I mean, I always use this as a very brief metaphor. Imagine we're all at a card table,
Okay.
holding up a ball, and we're all looking at the ball, and the question is, what color is it? And you say red, Molly says yellow, Kristina says blue, and I say white. And that's what we see. And we argue like hell that we're correct. And we are correct, but we're not complete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because if we put everyone's perspective together, we realize we have a beach ball.
Yeah.
It's a striped ball.
Yeah.
And now that perspective is very, very different than just looking at it from just the angle I can see. And so just like that happens if there's four people at a card table, the same thing happens internally in a human being. You have a very different experience if you're coming from your mind, your heart, or your gut.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And much less the visceral experience of the physicality of being on this planet. And so if you look at all those perspectives, I know someone who just comes from their head totally
Yeah.
and misses all the cues of the heart. I know that in the same company, guy comes totally from his heart
Yeah.
and misses all the stuff in his head, drives the other guy crazy. And the two of them make more of a complete human being, but they're still your gut, an informed gut. And that's part of what it is realizing there's other aspects to one's humanity and is on the surface or even through our own lens, and then include that in your conversations with yourself and your considerations of others.
So what is the purpose of business?
Busyness.
Well, I think when you ask that question, for me, it has a lot of weight because I've been a member of the conscious capitalism community for so long.
Yeah.
And the word purpose is about your why.
Yeah.
Why do you do what you do? An outcome is making profit. An outcome is employing people. An outcome is generating some activity, some service and product and so forth and so on. But the fulfillment of the why, which is very much at times an intangible, can be done in many different material ways. And how do you measure the success of the business? Again, if you look at the dimension through conscious capitalism, you are benefiting a stakeholder. So it's not just a shareholder. It includes the employees, the vendors, the community at large, your customers. And so but that's the effect of it. But the purpose is going to be, why do we do what we do?
What do we do? Yeah.
And that might, why does conscious wealth exist? Is it just to make money for the people that are invested through you? Or is it to do something else in their quality of life, with their family, with themselves, in whatever dimension you want to approach it? Same kind of question.
Cultivate abundance.
Okay, but there you go. And then, and so you say that, and it's a great pithy statement, and it has a tremendous amount of implications.
For
right?
sure.
Because we apply the stakeholder mentality to abundance. Okay, everybody wins.
Mm-hmm.
And the cultivation also has an implication. For my company, it's to unleash potential. Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's results for strategy. Unleash is a powerful active verb.
Mm-hmm.
And then potential is something that's latent inside a business or an individual. And those are the kind of things that we try and look for.
Yeah. And, I joke about saying busyness, I said that when you first asked, but I think it's actually a really important aspect because we can choose as humans with privilege and opportunity to be able to really do whatever it is that we want to set our attention to, right? I always say that the greatest human capacity for free will is our attention and where we choose to place it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we choose to place our attention on our business and growing something or moving something forward or perpetuating something in the world, that is the vehicle in which all our lessons come. That's the vehicle in which our personal growth comes. That's, and so we can choose anything. Some people will choose to look at their children or their family and do that. Some people will choose to look at their legacy. Some people will choose to look at their business and then their legacy or something along those lines. Like whatever you choose to put your attention to is going to be where you are going to see the fruits of your attention and how that ends up. And so a business is a wonderful way to be able to affect not just yourself with your attention, but to be able to point multiple attentions in one direction, and when you can do that well, you can enact change so that other people can, you know, and in its most ideal form, you can enact change that's going to make it so that other people can spend their attention on what they want to,
That's
so
right.
that other people can, you know, use the fruits of that attention and say, yes, this is what I choose to do with my business. This is what I want to go forward with and how I want to impact the world.
And your business is a microcosm of your life. It's going to show up. People are going to be placed in front of you that you're like, where the hell did you come from? You know, why are you here? You really irritate me. And you might find out that you're really just irritated at yourselves and just express to this individual out here. Because if you practice the premise or believe the premise that we're all connected,
Yeah.
then there's no such thing as a casual coincidence. There's meaning behind that. The synchronicity of someone showing up is going to give you a lesson. And sometimes the ones that give you the lessons are the ones that give you the hardest lessons.
Yeah.